So glad to have you with us. It is Friday, so of course it's Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders back in Vermont this weekend. Senator Sanders, great to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Tom.
So there was a vote on taxes this week, or over this last week, and you guys had some hearings on Citizens United.
Right. It was a busy week. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, chairman of the relevant subcommittee on the Judiciary Committee, held a hearing on Citizens United, which I think most listeners understand is the disastrous Supreme Court decision allowing corporations to spend as much money as they want, often without disclosure, on political campaigns. There was good testimony, Max Baucus, Tom Udall, Donna Edwards, and myself. And the point that I made, Tom, which I think is not made often enough, is what is going on in this country, not just politically but economically, is a rapid movement toward, in my view, an oligarchic form of government, where you have a handful of very, very wealthy families owning our economy, and now with Citizens United, able to use their wealth to control the political process. So it's not enough for these guys that the top 1% own 40% of the wealth of America. Not enough for these people that the top 1% earns more income than the bottom 50%. But now what they want to do, and have the opportunity through Citizens United, is to spend unlimited sums of money. And we're seeing it every single day now in the Obama campaign and Senate and House campaigns all over this country. Unlimited sums of money to elect candidates who will defend the wealthy and defeat candidates who are trying to do their best for working families. So this issue of the movement toward an oligarchic society, more and more power for big money interest, is something that we have got to fight as hard as we can.
In fact, Mr. Mitt Romney was over in the London $75,000 plate fundraiser last night in the middle of the financial district.
There's no shame. There is no shame. These guys on the top, they own Wall Street. We have, when you talk about power in America, let's not forget that the top 6 financial institutions on Wall Street have assets equivalent to 2/3 of the GDP of the United States of America, over $9 trillion. 6 institutions, 6 CEOs have that kind of power. So what you're seeing is economically more and more power to the people on top. In terms of distribution of wealth and income, more and more inequity, fewer people owning more of America. And now, in terms of the political system, these same guys can now exert enormous influence. So this is an issue that we must deal with. It has everything to do with the future of our democratic traditions, what this country is all about. So that is issue number one to me. Now, what we also did this week in the Senate is on Wednesday, there was a vote, and it was a vote of 51 to 48 in terms of repealing tax breaks for the top 2%, for people, individuals making $200,000 or more. These are Bush's tax breaks, or for couples making $250,000 or more. And the point to be made here is that this country has a $16 trillion national debt and a $1 trillion deficit, and that's serious. What we should never forget is how we got to where we are. And I hope listeners remember, certainly people like Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell do not remember, or choose not to remember, but when Bill Clinton left office in 2000, this country was running a huge surplus. We had a $236 billion surplus. And the projections were that there would be surpluses for many, many years to come. And what happened under George W. Bush is the great deficit hawks, the great Republican deficit hawks, with some Democrats, took us into wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they forgot to pay for them. So you have wars which, by the time we take care of our last wounded veteran, will end up costing us, nobody knows exactly, perhaps $3 trillion. We didn't pay for it. We put it on the credit card. And then at the same time, not only did we not pay for the wars, but Bush gave huge tax breaks, including tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country, which will add $1 trillion over a 10-year period. And then we had the Wall Street recession, which resulted in the lowest amount of revenue compared to GDP that we have seen in 60 years. So you add all that together, that's why we're in the deficit. So what we did on Wednesday is take a small step forward in sensible deficit reduction and say, you know what? Instead of, in my view at least, cutting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and education and the needs of working families and food stamps, maybe we should ask the millionaires and billionaires to contribute toward deficit reduction. Well, for our Republican friends, this is just a wild and crazy idea, unacceptable. No matter how rich the rich get, no matter how low their tax rates may be, and many wealthy people today are paying very low tax rates, no matter how many corporations are enjoying huge loopholes, for our Republican friends, you cannot ask them to pay a nickel more in taxes. They have a different vision of how you move toward a balanced budget, and that is taking it out on working families. So that's what that vote was about. I think it was a good victory. It was 51 to 48. No Republican support. Lost a couple of Democrats.
What do you think is going to happen in the House with that?
Oh, it's going to go nowhere. Zero. It's not even, I doubt that the issue will even come up. What the Republicans want to do is expand, is continue the Bush tax breaks for everybody.
Aren't they going to have to do something, though, before January 3rd?
Well, that's the whole issue of the fiscal cliff.
Yeah.
Which is what you're talking about. And that takes us to the issue of sequestration and major cuts in military spending as well as domestic programs. Mm-hmm. So the issue is, what I think sensible people are saying is, we don't want to go through the sequestration process. We want sensible deficit reduction. But that is what the debate is about. Mm-hmm. So the debate right now, the most important issue, and it doesn't get as much attention as it deserves, is how do you deal with the deficit, which is a serious issue. In my view, given the fact that we are where we are primarily because of unpaid wars and because of tax breaks to billionaires and because of the Wall Street caused recession, I don't think that leads you to the conclusion that you should cut Social Security, which, because it is independently funded, hasn't contributed a nickel to the deficit. It doesn't lead me to the conclusion that you cut Medicare or Medicaid or other important programs. It leads me to the conclusion that you start asking the wealthiest people in this country who are doing phenomenally well, whose effective tax rate is the lowest in decades. That's what, Warren Buffett talks about. Mm-hmm. It leads me to the conclusion that when we lose $100 billion a year because the rich and large corporations stash their money in the Cayman Islands and other tax havens, that you take a look at that issue. It leads me to the conclusion that 1 out of 4 major corporations isn't paying anything in taxes. And we know many of these large corporations have all kinds of loopholes, including large oil companies and everybody else. That's where you go. It leads me to the conclusion that when the United States has tripled military spending since 1997 and is now spending almost as much as the rest of the world combined, maybe we take a look at military spending. So there are ways to move toward deficit reduction. But what our Republican friends are absolutely insistent upon is that we move toward austerity on the backs of the elderly, i.e. cuts in Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, and the children and the sick. And that, to me, is not the direction we should be going.
Boy, I sure agree. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. It's going to be our National Town Hall meeting. Your opportunity to talk with United States Senator Bernie Sanders. His website, by the way, sanders.senate.gov. You can check that out. Our telephone number, 866-987-THOM. We'll be back with your calls for Bernie right after this. So welcome back. And Tom in Kalkaska, Michigan. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah. Are you there?
Yes. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV. You're on the air, Tom.
Okay. I have a question for Bernie Sanders. What is the difference between lobbying and bribery? I don't see where there's a difference.
I think, Tom, perhaps that's a good question. Maybe a better question would be campaign contributions and putting money into the political process and bribery. What bribery is if I give you $1,000 and I say, hey, I want you to vote this way with $10,000, that's bribery. But what the law allows now is, in a sense, legal bribery, in that you can make, right now, if you are the Koch family, you can put $400 million into campaigns trying to defeat Obama and defeat good candidates representing working people all over the country, and no one says, well, what do they want out of it? Well, we know what they want out of it. We know that they want tax breaks for the rich. We know that they want cutbacks on environmental protection, et cetera, et cetera. But that is not called bribery. I think the issue, Tom, very briefly, and I mentioned this a moment ago, is that we live right now in a moment where big money has just unbelievable impacts on our entire political and legislative life. And if you think that when members of the Senate and the House are not voting, they're not looking over their shoulders, trying to make sure that they're not going to antagonize Wall Street or the big money interest, because when they go home next weekend, there'll be all kinds of 30-second ads attacking them, you would be mistaken. That's exactly what goes on. So big money is enormously influential. Citizens United has made it worse, and that's why we have to, in my view, move toward public funding of elections.
Okay. Manuel in Mira Loma, California, watching Free Speech TV on DirecTV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Mr. Sanders. I really appreciate you taking my call. I respect you very much. My question is that I know Grover Norquist can hold the Republicans to cutting taxes. Is there any kind of Occupy movement or 99% movement that is holding Democrats to holding up Social Security, Medicare, things like that? And then also my second question is in California, LA, medical marijuana just got shut down by a 13-1 vote that they're not allowed to have storefronts. And is there anything you think we can do as citizens to get that back?
Just a minute to the break, Bernie.
In terms of your first question, that's an excellent question. And the answer is, I think not in any significant way. What we really need to do is millions and millions of people have got to contact their senators and their members of Congress and say, you know what? The working class of this country is being decimated. Poverty is at an all-time high. The wealthiest people are doing phenomenally well. Do not balance the budget on the backs of the most vulnerable people in this country who are already suffering, who are already hurting. And if you do cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, we will remember that at the ballot box. So that is exactly what we have to do, and I'm not sure that is being done as effectively by any means as Grover Norquist is holding his people accountable.
It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders answering your questions. We'll be right back with more Senator Sanders live from Vermont here on the Thom Hartmann Program on Free Speech TV, Pacifica Radio, and et al. We'll be right back. 20 minutes past the hour. The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Solar World. SolarWorld.com for information on solar electricity.
We must be prepared to move forward in the implementation of these rights to new goals of human happiness and well-being. For unless there is security here at home, there cannot be lasting peace in the world.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us in our national town hall meeting, taking your calls. Jason in Washington, D.C. You're on the air, Senator Sanders.
Hey, Bernie. How you doing? Hey, I know that the Congress passed the Audit the Fed bill this week, and I was wondering if you're going to push forward in the Senate, because I believe a lot of the stuff with the big banks is being hidden on the Fed balance sheet. Are you going to push for that?
The answer is I introduced that bill a couple of years ago. It's not going to go anyplace right now, nor should it, I think, for political reasons. I'm glad that it was passed in the House. I support it. But 3 months before election, I think it's not going to go anyplace. And here's what this is about. As you may know, as part of Dodd-Frank, we got the first audit. A provision of mine brought about the first audit of the Fed. It was during the financial crisis, and we learned a whole lot. Among other things, that $16 trillion was lent out at almost zero interest loans on a revolving loan fund to every financial institution and central bank around the world. So I am in favor of that. That's what I supported 2 years ago, and will continue to fight for it. But I am not hopeful that that's going to be going any place in the Senate right now. this close to an election.
Steve in River Forest, Illinois. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator, do you think there's any chance that we could get the Democratic caucus to push for a comprehensive voters' Bill of Rights that might include your Resolution 33 overturning Citizens United, and maybe even an amendment for instant runoff voting as a way of generating enthusiasm, drawing some alternative party voters, and pushing back against Citizens United?
There is strong, needless to say, if for no other reason than self-serving interest here, but a deeper reason. I think many of the members of the Democratic caucus are deeply concerned about the implications of Citizens United and are prepared to go forward. And that's, in a sense, what Durbin's hearing was about on Tuesday. So to answer your question, yeah, I think that there is a chance. I think what Democrats are pretty united on are two things. Number one, Citizens United is an attack on our democratic foundations. Number two, the voter suppression efforts that we're seeing in many Republican states are an outrage, again, and an effort to deny American citizens the right to participate in the political process. So this is an issue that is being discussed very seriously. What form it ends up taking, I don't know. As you do know, we tried last week to pass a Disclose Act, fairly conservative approach, which says that if you're going to spend more than $10,000 through a third-party effort in independent expenditures in a campaign, you have to at least make your names public immediately. We didn't get any Republican support for that. So to answer your question, yes, I think there's a lot of interest in those issues in the Democratic caucus.
Melinda in Vancouver, Washington. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Mr. Sanders. I am so glad to be talking to you, and I'm voting for you for president. I have a question. I'm kind of a little confused about the medical Obamacare. I'm trying to get my disabled son on my own insurance, but it's way too much money. And then they're telling me I can't get state insurance. Is that true?
Well, that's your state insurance will depend on policies for each state. Vermont has its own fairly strong state programs. I honestly don't know what it is in Washington. I think what the Affordable Care Act, so-called Obamacare, does say is that if you have private insurance right now, your kids up to the age of 26 can stay on that insurance with you. They can be included as part of your family insurance. Previously, I believe the age was 21. So but in terms of state programs, I'm just not familiar enough with what goes on in Washington.
Reginald in Houston, Texas. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Good evening. How y'all doing? Yes, sir. We had the government, the GAO, or Government Accountability Office, came out last week or so and said that we had $50 billion unaccounted for dollars that the military budget can't account for. And also we have, I believe, it's 160, 200 military bases all over the world, and this is a Cold War. These are bases just sitting there, and we are funding security for other countries when we could be putting that in our budget. When could we have an investigation on this $50 billion that's not being appropriated, that's been misappropriated, so that we can use that to go to other plans? And also, I just want to know if the individual who came up with did the massacre in Colorado, if he would have been an individual of another color, would that have been called him a terrorist, or would that have been considered a terroristic act the way we do in other countries?
Just a minute to the break here, Reginald, so let's get to Bernie's
let
answer.
me just, Reginald asked a good question. Reginald, if we could not account for only $50 billion within the military budget, I would be a very happy U.S. Senator. The truth is that the military budget is so huge, they have so many private contractors, that I suspect the amount of money that we cannot account for is much greater than that. In fact, their computer systems are inadequate to even give us a full understanding of where the money in the military is going. In terms of overseas bases, you're quite right. We are defending parts of Europe which provide health care to all of their people, which provide free college education to all of their people, which are spending half of what we are in terms of GDP on the military as we do. And I would agree with Reginald that maybe it's a good idea they defend themselves and let us take care of our own people.
It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls on the issues of the day in our national town hall meeting. Check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. We're talking to the man, indeed, Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, our national town hall meeting. And Randy in Sioux City, Iowa, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Good day, gentlemen. Bernie, Senator Sanders. Yesterday, I saw the CEO for Starbucks on a financial program, and he was commenting on money that was made overseas and bringing that back into the United States. And he was proposing lowering the tax limit. And the first thing that went through my mind is when you went over there and invested over there, we had a tax rate set up here, and now they want to bring it back and change the tax rate in the middle of leaving us high and dry with all this debt. So do you know anything about this, sir?
Yeah, I do, Randy, and that is being proposed. That, in fact, has happened in the past. It's like a tax holiday. You will temporarily lower the tax rate and hopefully get this money back into this country. I think it's a bad idea because if you do it once, you do it twice, you're going to continue to do it, and you make the existing tax rate meaningless. The fundamental issue that we are dealing with in terms of the global economy is the understanding that virtually every major corporation in this country has invested heavily throughout the world, often in low-wage countries. What concerns me the most, Randy, is we have lost 60,000 factories in America in the last 10 years, millions of decent-paying jobs. And what our goal must be is to demand that these companies start reinvesting in the United States of America, creating jobs here and paying taxes here. And the leverage that we have is we remain the largest market in the world. That's where they make a lot of their money, not all their money, but a lot of their money. And we've got to make a demand upon them that if they want us to buy their products, they got to start manufacturing these products. The other concern that I have, as I mentioned earlier, not just the good point that you made, is that a lot of these guys, we're seeing it more and more, are using tax havens, not only to avoid paying taxes in the United States, but people all over the world are doing the same. Tom, I don't know if you saw the study that came out from the UK, where an economist estimated that governments were losing that something like $20 trillion worldwide, not just from the United States, was being stashed in tax havens. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did, and we talked about it briefly on the air here. I should have done more with it.
I mean, it's an extraordinary...
This is what Mitt Romney is doing. I mean, with his accounts in the Caymans and the Swiss banks.
Right. That's exactly right. Multiply Mitt Romney by a zillion.
Yeah.
But all over the world, these guys who are forcing austerity on the parts of working families because governments are seeing a decline in their revenue, instead of paying their taxes, they're putting it into tax havens. They're fighting for lower and lower tax rates all over the world, not just in the United States of America. So, to answer Randy's question, in my view, I think we need a fair and progressive tax system that says to profitable companies, you know what, you're going to pay your fair share of taxes because we're not going to cut food stamps and Social Security and Medicare.
Mike in Las Vegas, you're on the air with Senator Sanders. Mike?
Yes. Good afternoon, Senator Tom. My question is concerning the Social Security Trust Fund. Senator, you're always touting that, there's $2.5 trillion in there and it doesn't cost the taxpayer anything. And, Tom, you're always saying the Republicans are trying to turn it over to the investment Wall Street banksters to make money with. But in truth, isn't that money already borrowed and spent? In order to redeem any of that money would have to come off of the current budget?
No, Mike, let me thank you for the question. What happened under Lyndon Johnson in order to disguise the cost of the Vietnam War is the two funds were merged. Now, that's a mistake, no question about it. But when people say, well, there's really no money in the Social Security Trust Fund, and you're right, that's what I do say, Mike, and that's true. The Social Security Administration will tell you that the Social Security Trust Fund has a $2.7 trillion surplus today and can pay out benefits for all benefits for the next 22 years. That's real money. And people say, well, it's just an IOU, you know. But so is the entire debt of the United States of America, and this country has never once defaulted on any of its debts. So the challenge that we face is how you deal with the deficit, how you deal with the national debt. That's real. But to say that the money in the Social Security Trust Fund is not real, 2.7 trillion, is not correct. And that's just not my view. That's the Social Security Administration. I think the CBO is as well.
Joe in Akron, Ohio. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Oh, Joe. Yeah, okay, this is Joe. I just want to know it seems like there's a disconnect on this tax cuts. Okay, number one, everybody. I mean, they keep on saying the Republicans are want to give tax cuts to everybody. Well, so do the Democrats. And what I'm trying to say is everybody gets a tax cut under Obama on the first quarter of $1,000,000. Am I wrong or am I right?
You're absolutely right.
Okay, now, why doesn't the media say that? Why doesn't MSNBC say that? MSNBC is right on. They tell you they expose the Republicans for the handling things, and they specifically say what the Democrats want to do is give the middle class a tax cut, and what the Republicans want to do is give everybody a tax cut.
No,
so the Democrats. So they
Joe, your point is exactly right, and I think many people, including myself, might be at fault for not making that clearer. Everybody gets to retain the Bush tax breaks for the first of individual $200,000, a family $250,000. So Joe is right in saying everybody gets that tax break, but it stops for a couple after $250,000. So if Joe's point is that everybody, if you're a billionaire, you're going to get a tax cut under what we voted on the other day, that is correct. He's right.
Okay. Tim in Bristol, Vermont. You're on the air with Senator Sanders, with your senator.
Hello, Senator. Is there a way to disconnect the Veterans Administration from the military budget?
Tim, it is. It is a separate budget. And what we have done as a member of the Veterans Committee, we have in recent years, and Obama, in fact, does not get the credit that he deserves because he has been very supportive of veterans issues. We put a lot of money into the Veterans Administration to take care of not only our older vets, but many of our younger vets coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan. We also passed a new GI educational bill, which is helping a lot of veterans in Vermont go to college and all over this country. But, Tim, they are separate budgets.
Ed in St. Louis, Missouri. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, Senator Sanders, first off, it's a privilege to talk with you. And second off, I would like to say that I was wondering why you guys couldn't pass a bill in Congress that would stop states from having voter suppression laws by saying that anything as precious as voting is, anything that would suppress votes would have states or anybody would have to prove that that whatever measure they're taking would be more than offset whoever is suppressed.
Well, Ed, you raise, as I mentioned earlier, a huge issue, and to me it is incomprehensible that states throughout this country are trying to deny often lower-income people, older people who do not have, say, a photo ID driver's license, and making it difficult for them to vote under the guise of voter fraud, which fortunately in our country is not a serious issue. What I can tell you, Ed, is that the Attorney General's office is, I think, becoming a little bit more aggressive. The Obama administration is becoming a little bit more aggressive on this issue. Have they been aggressive enough? They haven't. I talked to those guys probably 4 or 5 months ago. But they are now beginning to go into the states and demand that they do not deny people the right to vote unjustly. So some progress is being made, but it's taking too long.
Just a minute to the break. A quick question, Jack, in State College, Pennsylvania?
Yes, Senator, thanks for taking my call. I got a quick situation for you. Maybe you can help me out. Both of us come from the same economic background. This is kind of an example. And we both want to start our own business. Okay, we both lay out the same money. We both take the same risk. My business is successful, but yours fails. Why should I be punished by being successful, by being placed in a higher tax bracket than someone who didn't make it? If you can answer me that, I'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Okay, I'd be happy to, Jack. And I tell you what, Tom, Jack asked an interesting question. Why don't we carry it over after the break? How's that?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. And
it's a pretty fundamental question, and it's a question I think a lot of Republicans are raising, and it's a question that deserves to be answered.
Yeah, in a little more detail than that. So we will, there's the music. We will be back in just a minute with Bernie's answer to that question. Actually, we'll be back in 5 minutes with Bernie's answer to that question, since it was asked on Sirius Satellite Radio. And it's the Thom Hartmann Program. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here right now. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line answering your questions. Check out sanders.senate.gov for Bernie's website. We're at thomhartmann.com.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
45 minutes past the hour. Back with more of Bernie. Bernie, if we could answer Jack's question right after the next break, is that okay? Because he was asking on Sirius.
Jack asked a good question, and he deserves a thoughtful answer to that.
He won't be able to hear that right now because Sirius Satellite Radio is on a commercial break. So let's pick up our Free Speech TV and Pacifica viewers and callers who don't go to commercial breaks. Corky in Rochester, New York, watching on Free Speech TV on Direct TV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Senator.
Hi.
You just passed that middle-class tax break in the Senate and went over to the Congress. What's going on in the halls of Congress other than Chick-fil-A? Everybody's weighing in on Chick-fil-A. Nobody said a word about our tax rate staying the same.
Well, as you indicated, the Senate did pass by a 51-48 vote an extension of tax breaks for the middle class, for everybody, individuals 200,000 and under, couples 250,000 or under. That was passed. Do I think that the House of Representatives, the Republican House, is going to pass that legislation? I doubt it very, very much. My Republican friends are wedded to the idea that billionaires and millionaires are in desperate need of tax breaks. Despite the fact that we have $1 trillion deficit, and despite the fact that we could help our deficit situation by about $100 billion every year by eliminating the tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country. So, Corky, we are moving toward what is called the fiscal cliff, the financial cliff, and I suspect you're going to see a lot of negotiations and a lot of discussions about how we deal with deficit reduction. In my view, you can't be serious about deficit reduction if you don't ask the wealthiest people in this country to stop paying their fair share of taxes. And one way you do that is end Bush's tax breaks for upper income people. And that's what we did in the Senate on Wednesday.
Lida in Newport, Oregon, watching us on Free Speech TV on Direct TV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, I'm not concerned about voters fraud. I'm concerned about election fraud. And I know that's not just my imagination. They've been doing it for years on a local level and all. But this, I feel like the last administration and Karl Rove were given a lot of credit for what I consider election fraud. And is there going to be anything done about making that unlawful?
Well, Leader, I would have to know what you meant by election fraud. In terms of people walking into the ballot box or in other ways casting votes illegally for dead people, or people casting 2 votes or 3 votes. The truth is, in America, we, thank God, do not have a whole lot of it. Does it exist? It does, but not a whole lot. And my concern is the Republicans are using the rare instances of voter fraud to pass legislation which will deny all over this country, collectively hundreds of thousands of people, of the right to vote.
I'm guessing that's the sort of thing she's talking about, like Jeb Bush knocking 80,000 African Americans off the voting rolls.
Oh, is that what she's talking? Well,
back in 2000.
Of course, that is voter suppression. That's what we would call voter suppression.
Yes, there you go. Senator Bernie Sanders with us, taking your calls in our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be back with more of Senator Sanders right after this. It's 10 minutes before the hour. Welcome back to the program where despair is not an option. The Thom Hartmann Program. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. The senator.
Tom, I'd like to get back to Tom. I'd like to get back to Jack's question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we do that? Is he on?
Yes, he's not on the line, but I can paraphrase his question very quickly. He said, if he and a friend both start a business, his friend fails, he's successful. Why should he be penalized? Was his word, the kind of right wing frame, by having to pay more taxes if his friend doesn't pay as much because he failed?
Yeah, that was Jack's question, and that Jack reflects well the view of many conservative Republicans, and let's deal with that issue. And I would say to Jack, the reason for that is that you live in the United States of America, a democratic society, a society in which we take seriously the needs of all of our people, and that we do not live in a jungle which says that the only thing that matters is me, and I don't care anything at all about the people around me. That is essentially what a society is. A society is that we don't turn our backs when we see children in this country going hungry, or old people not being able to get the health care that they need, or working class kids not being able to afford to go to college. That as a nation we sit there and we decide what is best for our country, not just for wealthy and successful and powerful people. And that when you look at what's happening today, Jack, you find tens and tens and tens of millions of people are really hurting. That people have lost their jobs, having a difficult time feeding their families, sending their kids to college, providing childcare. And we don't, in a civilized democratic society, turn our backs on them because we have made it. Hey, I made it. I don't have to worry about anybody else because I'm only in it for myself. So that is my view. That's maybe a philosophical difference than that Jack has. But I think we do well as a nation when everybody does well, when we eliminate childhood poverty, when kids get the best education they can, when we have an environment which is clean and the air we breathe and the food we eat is clean. And that takes money to do that, when the roads and our infrastructure and our bridges are safe. And that takes money to do that. So, that is my view, Jack. It is not a conservative Republican philosophy, but that is what I believe.
Dave in Golden, Colorado. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, how are you?
Good.
Good. I love both you and Thom Hartmann, and I think if we have any chance at all, it's going to be with people like you. But here's a question I have for you. When I remember back to the debate with Clinton and Bush and Ross Perot, and Ross Perot talked about the giant sucking sound and all the American jobs that would be lost. And then when you talk about oh, America's just lost thousands of manufacturing jobs. Well, why is that? Isn't that because government passed NAFTA?
Okay, good question, Dave. Well, you know what? People made fun of Ross Perot in that campaign. I know Ross, and I like Ross. We don't agree on everything. But you know what? In that debate with George H.W. Bush, Bush the First, and Bill Clinton, and Ross Perot, you know who was right on that issue? Ross Perot was right. And Ross Perot was fearful that trade agreements like NAFTA would open up the door for large corporations to move abroad, hire people in Mexico at that point, later in China, at very low wages, result in the shutting down of manufacturing plants and the loss of millions of jobs in America. Guess what? Ross Perot was right. So to answer your question, Dave, primarily, in my view, that has to do with a disastrous trade policy in which American workers are being forced to compete against people all over the world who, in some cases, making pennies an hour. This is a trade policy, and I remember it very well. I was there, opposed it very strongly, that was supported vigorously by the Chamber of Commerce, the National Association of Manufacturers, all the big money guys. And the reason was that they want to be able to move abroad and then bring their products back into this country tariff-free.
Raymond in Warrenville, Illinois. Do I have that right, Raymond?
Yes.
You're on the air.
I would like to know how much Obamacare is going to add from the deduction of my Social Security for Medicare. At present, it's $99.90, and I've been told that it's going to increase or double approximately. Can you verify that?
No, I can't, and I don't think that is the case. No, I don't. Medicare and how we deal with the problems of Medicare, how we make Medicare solvent, is a real issue. My own view is, I've stated many times, and I hope Vermont leads the nation in that direction, is that we move toward a Medicare for all, single-payer approach for all people. But in terms of Obamacare, I'm not aware that.
This sounds like one of those right-wing emails that goes around. There's a whole website now for Obamacare called healthcare.gov that the federal government has put up that caller might want to check out. Bernie, we have just a minute left. Not enough time to bring a caller. Your thoughts on the week and where we go forward from here?
Well, the one issue that we didn't touch on, Tom, and I'm going to be on the floor of the Senate on Monday speaking about it, is the issue of global warming. It is a huge issue. We are already seeing catastrophic impacts in terms of droughts, extreme weather disturbances, flooding, not only in the United States but all over the world. And it is amazing how little discussion we are seeing in the Senate, in Congress, because I think our Republican friends are so wedded to the coal and oil and the fossil fuel industry that they really do not want to take a hard look at the truth of what's happening and the need to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and weatherization and sustainable energy, which, by the way, could create millions of jobs. So that is an issue that we need to hear a whole lot more discussion about.
There you go. Senator Bernie Sanders. Bernie, thanks so much for being with us again today.
Great to be with you, Tom.
Great talking.